everybody. I know there are three risks which I'm taking now. One, I'm the last man standing between you and lunch. Second is I'm speaking to a group of practitioners who do it day in and day out. So that's something I'll remember. So at the end of the presentation, I hope it's not a foolhardy attempt, but a brave attempt to share some thoughts with you. And the last one is I'm in the land of exceptionally very high storytelling, which happens here. Some of the world-class storytelling and films happen here. So that's the risk in this particular slide where I said it is the story of the phases. And quickly, there are 5 phases which I thought we will run you through and just want to leave some thoughts on it. Okay, so let me just share the first slide. Just watch this slide, but I can't take questions so quickly. And I'm sure if I ask, what do you see in this slide? We would say that children are posing for a photograph. And it is so common that it is a 19th century black and white photograph. That's nice. So let me share the second photograph with you. And you don't need Sherlock Holmes to tell us that what is common between both the photographs, that both were 19th century photographs. Both had benches and both had bells, because when the Industrial Revolution took place, the whole system was about bringing children and making them work ready. And that is why you'll find the concepts of bells, etc. And I'm talking about 19th century. And very important just to share with you is the story of the mass instruction. But the point we are trying to make here is you must have seen this many times. And if I ask you, when was this particular quotation, you'll say, this keeps happening in education. Everybody talks about. And 2 things I've noticed common between education and cricket. Both have a lot of passion. And even in cricket, people will come and tell Sachin Tendulkar how to play his game. Similarly, when in education, we have a tendency to tell schools what is missing. But the real challenge is run a school and you will know how difficult it is. Right? And that is why they say running a school is 10 times more difficult than being a CEO of a company. And when you really look at this, what Armstrong said, he said it in 1902. So even at that time, people were clamoring, make change in education, make change in education. And this is a quote I'm sure you'll know very well. And this quote, any guess? I'm sure you all know, is very popular. And it was just made 100 years back. So even 100 years back, Edison put his credibility saying books will be replaced. And the reason why I'm quickly running through this, and what is the phase 2 silent revolution, which I call as BG and AG, because it came into the classrooms, no headlines, it didn't scream for anybody's attention, but it did take place. What we would call is before Google and after Google, because when Google came in, what did it do? It changed the way, teachers became important in a classroom. And very important is, I just want to leave one sentence. I won't be spending so much time. It's a very hard slide. But when I'm in Tata Classes for the 11 years, I've visited 1,500 schools. They'll say, oh, Tata Classes wale aage, smart board wale aage. And then it's slightly shocking because we have come here for digital pedagogy and learning. And then I remember the example. It is like going to a hotel and ordering food basis the cutlery, not the quality of the food that is being made. But that's how technology sometimes gets perceived. So that's fine. But there are a lot of changes which is happening. And that's what we called as phase 2. And very, very clearly, this is the what, the how, the way, and for whom. And I'm sure all these practices are happening. The point which we want to leave is, when you want to step back for a moment, where are we heading in phase 4? Where is that we are moving in phase 5 is what I wanted to bring your attention to. And we saw this particular one when we talked about disruption. And the difference between phase 2 and phase 3 is, in phase 2, technology led the disruption. In phase 3, which we saw last year, technology supported the problem which came. And I remember there is so much of change happening. And I would just want to leave this. If Sholay was written now, there is this very famous dialogue which says, 50-50 कोस दूर, रात को जब बच्चा सोता नहीं है, माँ कहती है कि सो जा नहीं तो गब्बर सिंह आ जाएगा. Today, mother has to slightly tweak it. I would say parent has to slightly tweak it. Let me be gender sensitive. And then all they have to change that sentence is, बच्चा सो जा नहीं तो मैं internet off कर दूंगी. So very, very clearly there is a lot of shift digitally, and that is why when the earlier speaker said we need to be more careful that when children are going back to school, they have gone through a lot. Teachers have gone through a lot. And let me just share some examples. And according to me, I think there are 23 countries which produce vaccine. That's been a great innovation. But one of the biggest innovation we don't talk about is the way teachers went through about the whole online. I think it was extraordinary. And each one of you must give a big round of applause to your own very teachers who are there. And look at this particular, I thought it was incredible. Between two dabbas, she's put a refrigerator tray and she's conducting an online class. And that's been the level of innovation which has happened. And that's why I said sometimes the noise levels are so high that we don't get to hear some of these very, very important aspects which we saw in phase 3. And very important in digital pedagogy, it's not a new word, but two things I saw. What happened last year is, now the teacher says during online, Jada shor mat karo. Earlier she used to say, go out of the classroom. Now she says, I will make you sit in the waiting lobby if they use a Zoom. And even the students have become slightly sharper. I remember they find out which teacher is using a mobile phone for teaching, because when a teacher uses a mobile phone for teaching, the number of videos she can see in her frame is limited. That is the time they start planning to have their breakfast if they miss it at home, because the camera has to be on. So there is a lot of give and take in the entire digital pedagogy bit, but these are some of the most important elements because you see it day in and day out, and people like me are all from the outside, so it's easier to give some of these comments. And let me just quickly move that we know the phase 4, we all accepted it, it's a part of our life, disruption was there. So what happened exactly? We realized there is a different way in which digital has become a part of our life. So what does that mean? Is everything seems to be moving, the latest buzz is moving towards student learning outcome. I remember, and if you open any ad, you will find we guarantee you student learning outcomes. Only thing, two things I have not seen in the ad is, one, a school now putting up an ad saying we will return the money if your child doesn't pass. I hope we don't reach that stage when we come to learning outcomes, because the real crux here is how to define what is learning outcomes, what are the various elements, but I just want to leave this particular process because it's going to hit us hard, it is going to hit us straight, and what is that we are going to do in terms of preparing. Let me reach my last phase 5, because I know I have exactly 10 minutes, and I don't want Mr. Brahman to tax me later for taking more time, especially I know it's just the lunch time. So in the last 2 minutes, what is that I want to leave is phase 5. Of course, we all are here. We are so happy to meet each other after so many years. We hope things will be, and I'm sure these are the kind of sentiments, and then we open the paper and we say, China mein aur ek wave aane wala hai. Then of course we know what to do with our minds. But the point we are trying to make is, why is this an important phase when you plan your innovation and continuous improvement? We did a lot of research, we don't have the time, but we talked about how the teachers use the dabba. I think we have classical cases of innovation and continuous improvement. On the sidelines, we have taken 3 years. We launched Tata Study, which is our own app, but it has a lot of science of learning. So a lot of innovation we have been trying to bring to the table. And the last one, we know about post-traumatic stress disorder, and my request to the schools is, not everything is all right. students still need to be talked about, and I'm sure a lot of schools are doing that. It's just not that they're moved from offline to online. There are nursery children who never attended a school and they thought the laptop was their school. So they're going to throw a lot of it, and I'm sure you are anchoring it. And the last but least, or not the least, is the PTM meetings. Imagine if you are a parent of a nursery kid, irrespective of your own BMI, you have to sit in that bench, number one. Number two is the time taken to meet the teacher is very high. And third, you can't have private conversations. But what the online did was fantastic. It gave you a tool. You could speak your mind. I didn't have to bunk office. Third, we could speak personally to the teacher. And the PTMs, according to me, gave a fantastic way to connect to the school leaders and the teachers. So the only point I want to leave at this juncture, and you'll be happy to know I'm concluding my speech, is that we should not be stating that we are going back to school. I think what's important is we are moving forward in terms of all those rich learning, and if we keep these 4 points in mind, I think we have a huge role. Days are gone when we could say, oh, digital pata nahi, hardware wala kaun hai, technology wale kaun hai. I think it's become an important leadership attribute in the school to become slightly more digitally aware. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great conference. And we just wanted to leave these thoughts in your mind. And I hope my attempt is okay. And I look forward that I'm not going to get lynched after this. But thank you so much, and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir, for your valuable inputs on the future of education and the 5 phases.
Now I request Mr. Malcolm Nicholson to come to the dais and felicitate Mr. Sanjay Radha Krishnan.
So, is this next?